In Algebra 2, Section 363, we're dealing with square root and inequality functions. Basically, we're going to be using the same methods because when we're dealing with inequalities, the same methods when we're doing lines and shading and parabolas and shading. But other than that, we're just using tables to graph it. So let's use a table in order to graph this. We're going to have our x, y, and our work. Pay attention to what's under the square root function because that's what you're going to do first, and then you're going to multiply it by 3, and then you're going to add by 2. Remember the order of operations, which usually people get in a rush and then they forget to do it. So we choose our x and y. So I'm going to choose the basic -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So let's plug it in. This is going to be 3 square root -2 minus 4 plus 2. So this gives us a 3 root -6. So this is actually an imaginary number. Remember when we have an I, and I can't graph an I, so I know I have to make sure I have to get a number bigger than 0, negative on here. So I have to change these, okay, and I'm going to start now, because I can't do that. So that means I'm going to do, same like 4 points, but I'm going to start with 4, because 4 makes the inside 0, and I can at least work with that. So 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we have 3, 4 minus 4 plus 2, which is 3 times 0 plus 2, which is 2. Okay? Then we're going to do 3 square root of 5 minus 4 plus 2, which is 3 times 1 plus 2, which is 3 plus 2, which is 5. The next one is 3 square root of 6 minus 4 plus 2, which is 3 root 2. Okay, I'm going to try a bigger number. I need at least 5 points, and I could do this, I could keep doing this and do decimals, but I don't want to do decimals. So let's say I don't want to do this. I have to make a perfect square on the inside here. So if I make this 4, 4 is a perfect square, or 3. So if I do 7, no, it has to be 9. So 4 is the perfect square. So if I want to do 4 minus 4, something to get this to equal 4, it would be 8, right? So 3 square root of 8 minus 4 plus 2 would be 3 square root of 4 plus 2, which would be 3 times 2 plus 2, which would be 6 plus 6, which would be 12. Let's just do one more. What's another square root? It is 4, 9, I guess. So what makes 9? 13. So 3 square root of 13 minus 4 plus 2, 3 square root of 9 plus 2, 3 times 3 plus 2, which would be 9 plus 2, which would be something like this. 6 plus 6, 9. Oh. Oh, how did this get 6? This is 2. So this is 8. Ha, sorry. And then it's 11. I was wondering why we were going up and then down. Okay. So now I can graph. This seems to be all positive, so I'm going to make it look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, there's no negatives here either because I couldn't do that. So everything's positive. So let's make it look like this. So then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. then I'm going to do 4, 13. I mean 4, 2. I don't know, I get 13. And then 5, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? And then 8, 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then 13, 11. So basically, I know 13, 11 is like here, here. So I'm not going to even do 3 points is enough. So basically, I know that I know it can't be negatives. I know it can't be. I can't have an x that's more than 4. Right? It could get close to 4. I mean, it could be bigger than 4, but once it gets 4, then I get negative. So I can't do negative numbers. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. So this means that I start here, and I'm going to go up. So it's just going to increase and shoot up, but it's not going to hit here because it becomes negative anywhere on there. Right? Yeah. So go ahead and pause this and write it down. And then this is all you're going to do is going to be graphing inequalities, but the next one, I mean graphing square root functions, but the other one that you're graphing, it's going to be, the other one you're going to graph has an inequality, so you're going to be doing the exact same thing except you're going to be shading. You see I haven't created the graph yet because for this one right here, I changed it and edited it as I was filling this out, because I was mainly positive. So for this one, I can put negative numbers in here as long as the negative numbers don't go bigger than 5. So let's try our basics, and then if we end up getting a negative number in the square root, then we can change it. 1, 2. Okay? So we're going to do square root. No, yeah, I can't do that because that gives me 3 times negative 2 is negative 6 plus 5, which is negative 1. So I can't do that. Okay? But I can do negative 1, yes. So square root of 3 times negative 1 plus 5 would be square root of negative 3 plus 5, which would be square root of 2. I do square root of 3 times 0 plus 5 equals square root of 5, right? Because 0 plus 5. 3 square root of 3 times 1 plus 5 is 8. And then the last one is square root of 3 times 2 plus 5, which is the square root of 6 plus 5, which is square root of 11. Now these are all square roots, so I'm going to put it in decimals because it's easier for me to find the answer in decimal. So root 2 is 1.4. Root 5 is 2.2. Root 8 is 2.8. And then 11. Root 3. Those numbers are pretty small, so let me try a big number. Let me try like 10. So square root of 3 times 10 plus 3 times 10. So that's 30 plus 5. So square root of 35 would be 5.9. Okay. So let's try. These are, I have a negative here. This is, I can't do -1, so I can do -1. I can't do -2. I can do -1 to 1.4, 0 to 2.2. Is it? Yeah, 0 to 2, 2 to 3.3. 1 to, sorry, it was 2.8. 10 to 5.1, 2, 3, 4. Right here. So it looks like that. Okay? Now, I have 2 areas here. Now I know I can't do any of these negatives because it makes this a negative on the inside, so they're my imaginary numbers. But according to this, from this side right here on these x's, this is an inequality, right? Oh, and it's supposed to be dashed, just like the rules with lines. It's supposed to be dashed, right? And I'm going to see if I shade this area or this area. And it's just like the rules of the line, I have to test the point. So I'm going to test 0, 0, because it's not on the line and it's not in my can't area, because if it was here, I couldn't. Like in the other one, on this one, I couldn't test 0, 0 because I can't do anything lower than 4 because that's my imaginary number. But this one I can. So I'm going to test 0, 0, and it doesn't matter if I can test any, and I just need to see if it's true or false. So y is greater than square root. 0 is greater than 3 times 0 plus 5. 0 is greater than square root of 5, no, and this is false. So this is not shaded, but this area is shaded on top. So it's the same thing as the last one, except this one is shaded and not. There's a lot of interruptions, so hopefully the video makes sense. Go ahead and pause it, write it down, and try page 403, number 10. 403, number 10, and I will see you in class.